The Claire Obscure drama makes zero sense. I don't know what this is about, but as a Claire Obscure Expedition 33 dick rider, we had to react to it. YouTube frogs watching after the fact. Hey, what's up? My name is Chris. I hope you enjoy your stay. If you don't, that's okay, because I talk too much. Sometimes I don't talk enough. Sometimes I talk to chat too much. You have been warned. The original video will be linked at the top of the description. Go watch it before you watch this original video. Twitch chat, I'm going to give it to you right now. Yeah. Second link is the Twitch stream. Would love to have you over sometime if you are interested, if you're looking for a new streamer to watch. All right, cool. Let's get into it. Bada bing, bada boom.
We need to talk about Claire Obscure Expedition 33 because, good God, the discourse surrounding this game has been relentless. In particular, the RPG community is at war.
Oh, dude, the amount of times that I've seen, where is it? This history of turn-based RPGs. Final Fantasy, literally 0 turn-based RPGs. Persona 5, Expedition 33. I've seen that so many times in my feed.
Let's just say some takes have not been well received.
Oh, I know who posted this on Twitter. Yeah.
And I'm not just talking about the Shroud discourse.
Oh, Jesus.
Do not let that Expedition game win Game of the Year. Do not let it.
So, let's get into it.
Yeah, guys, we're forgetting an incredible turn-based game called Raid Shadow Legends, okay? What's up, Raid Shadow Legends? Sponsor me. Thank you very much.
You're fighting to change things.
Spoilers. Why did this just get put in 480p? What the freaking bungus, dude?
For those who come after.
Oh, so hard.
Right?
Thought I was used to losing people.
Chat, fair warning, there could be spoilers, actual spoilers for Expedition 33. Probably not, but maybe.
Yeah, me too.
So be wary.
Claire Obscure revived the turn-based genre. A simple claim, yet somehow the root of endless arguments. Yes, Claire Obscure exploded in popularity.
Before I let him give his point, let me give my view of this as somebody who's not a super turn-based gamer, but like I like to think that I'm somewhat in the know with the gaming industry. It didn't revive it. Like literally Metaphor came out last year, right? Or this year? Early this year? There is so many great turn-based games coming out. What's the other turn-based game that just came out? A new release came out. Is it? Hold on. Let me go to Metacritic because I just saw it a second ago. Let me pull it up here. Not Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Octopath Traveler. Isn't that also turn-based too? You know, but I think the thing that Expedition 33 did with their dodge and parry system, which isn't new, by the way. Okay, that's been a thing for a while. But they did it so well with such an incredible story that the turn-based combat didn't hold back people from playing their game. And I think that's why people who maybe aren't tapped in on turn-based games so heavily resonate with this game and they sing its praises so much, is because it hasn't like kept them from playing this incredible game.
And earned mountains of well-deserved praise. But the idea that it revived turn-based RPGs is simply incorrect.
Yeah.
Just last year, Metaphor ReFantazio was a Game of the Year contender. Another mainstream turn-based RPG. The year before that, Baldur's Gate 3...
Oh, right, Baldur's Gate 3. How can I fucking forget? That's turn-based too.
Actually won Game of the Year and is widely considered one of the greatest RPGs ever made. Going further back, in 2017, Persona 5 transformed the series from a niche franchise into a global phenomenon capable of competing with titles like Breath of the Wild or Mario Odyssey. And that's only mainstream releases. You also have Octopath,
Hey, am I tapped in or what? Oh, Like a Dragon? I didn't even think about Like a Dragon. I just kind of assumed Like a Dragon is like a more popular series than like niche, but I guess it technically could be niche. I don't know the game sales numbers on that shit.
There's Legend of Heroes and countless indie standouts like Undertale, Omori, and more recently, Look Outside. The turn-based genre wasn't dead, so it couldn't be revived. That said, while Claire Obscure may not have revived the genre, the argument that it could revolutionize it is far more compelling.
I think it also kind of brought it to, well, I guess I can't really make the argument because Baldur's Gate 3 brought turn-based games to like a wider audience. I'm thinking kind of like maybe Expedition 33, like how I was talking about earlier, how like GTA to gun and ball gamers, like they'll play GTA 5 instead of just ball and gun games, right? Maybe Expedition 33 for like some story gamers was like kind of the game that got them into turn-based games, maybe. But Baldur's Gate 3 kind of did the same thing. Maybe they're both in their own right that way.
And this idea also has stirred plenty of debate. All things considered, Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is one of the most popular turn-based RPGs in years. Even Persona 5, a game which can make very similar claims, pales in comparison to Clair Obscur's immediate success. The game isn't even a year old and it's already surpassed 5 million copies sold. For context, the original Final Fantasy X, one of the most beloved entries in the franchise, sold around 8 million copies in its entire lifetime. Clair Obscur achieved comparable reach in mere months, without a pre-existing fanbase and minimal marketing. For many people, the game felt as though it appeared out of nowhere, and it even managed to overshadow the highly praised Oblivion remake, an incredible feat given how popular the Elder Scrolls franchise is. All of this is to say, Clair Obscur has brought unprecedented attention to the turn-based space, arguably more than any game since Final Fantasy VII.
I think maybe also the thing for Expedition 33 in particular is sometimes people might oversell its place in like the turn-based hierarchy because they felt such an emotional connection to the story because it's absolutely incredible. So they feel like they need to overhype the entire game, right? Does that make sense? Am I making sense here? Like, they want to hype up the game even more and be like, yeah, it's changed turn-based gaming because it's such an incredible game, right? But it's not like the turn-based mechanics of it is what completely, or what like sold someone so much on it. Like for me personally, it's not like the turn-based combat. I'm not like, holy shit, this shit's incredible. I'm like, this story is literally the best story for me personally in any video game. Like the way that it resonated with me. So, and like for me, if I wasn't more aware, I would probably be like, the fucking turn-based mechanics are the best turn-based mechanics I've ever fucking seen. If I didn't know more about the like what games came out, I might be like, this shit revived turn-based games, because maybe I only played turn-based games when I was younger because that was all that was available at the time. Going too far outward on the scale of greatness. Yeah, like maybe like in relations to like hyping up every aspect of the game. Yeah, Nate, I think you're right.
And technically Baldur's Gate 3, but that game is kind of a special case. So how does its popularity correspond to it being revolutionary? Simple. Widespread success increases the likelihood that its design ideas influence the broader genre. A common counterargument is that Expedition 33 doesn't introduce anything new. The developers cite inspirations like Lost Odyssey and Legend of Dragoon, and detractors point to these influences as evidence against the game's innovation. But those titles are cult classics, games that went either unappreciated or were overshadowed at launch and, as a result, never had mainstream impact. Their innovations faded before they could shape the genre.
Yeah, so Expedition 33 having that major impact on the gaming industry, they're now able to those mechanics be praised, even though they aren't the ones who invented it. Sorry. Dude, you would be surprised of how many people are friendly in Arc Raiders, dude. It's so much fun. You can be solo and people will just leave you be unless you engage. It's fucking great. Dude, that's awesome.
Where Clair Obscur shines. Instead of letting these ideas vanish into obscurity, Expedition 33 modernizes them and brings them into a massive audience.
Perfectly said.
This is why many players consider it innovative. Innovation doesn't require inventing something new, it requires shifting established norms. And Clair Obscur absolutely challenges conventional expectations of turn-based combat. With its popularity, it could inspire more developers to break from tradition and pursue new ideas, ushering in a fresh new wave of experimentation. And by definition, that would make the game an innovation. But ultimately, it's just too early to know. Both sides of this debate overlook the simple fact that we don't yet know what impact the game will actually have. You can speculate all day, but only time will really tell. Personally, I believe it will at least somewhat revolutionize the genre, much like
It's just a reskinned Stick of Truth, not gonna lie. Again, Rage Bait used to be believable, my man. It used to be believable.
like Persona 5 did. Both games redefined perceptions of what a turn-based RPG could be and have elevated the genre into the mainstream consciousness. Going forward, Clair Obscur will function as a benchmark. For indie teams, it's proof that a small studio can dominate the industry, and for AAA developers, it's a standard of polish and mechanical inventiveness they'll be expected to match. Like Persona 5, Clair Obscur's success will also likely lift other turn-based games. Its popularity has increased general awareness and enthusiasm for the genre, likely leading players to explore similar titles after finishing Expedition 33, and honestly, that's something everyone should want. Colonizer 33
What?
is a turn.
It's what now? They're doing what? They're doing what now? Where? What? The fuck?
That if you're lucky or simply not extremely online, you may have never heard.
I don't think I've heard
It
this
emerged
shit.
as Clair Obscur
Callie! Yes. Callie, I literally think it's gonna stand the test of time as my favorite game of all time. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible.
gained traction and began to receive constant praise. The term is essentially a response to the claim that Expedition 33 revived turn-based RPGs, arguing that people only liked it because it wasn't Japanese. Predictably, this sentiment escalated into outright hostility towards the game, even though the original frustration was aimed at the community, not the game itself. At face value, this Colonizer 33 idea is ignorant for multiple reasons. First, while it is true that some people avoid Japanese games because they consider them weeb titles, that demographic is tiny and shrinking.
I'm not gonna lie, that's like a ball and gun gamer point right there. That's like a ball and gun gamer moment. It was to be like, oh, it's from Japan? That's some weeb shit. I don't do that. I play masculine things like Madden and Call of Duty. I don't really think that really applies to the people who are playing Expedition 33. I've literally never heard of people avoiding Japanese games. Yeah, I've never heard one person be like, oh no, it's Japanese. Yeah, it's some weeb shit. Brother, it destroyed my life, bro. Isn't it incredible? Isn't this shit so incredible, bro? The amount of times I fucking cried playing this game. I'm always like, yeah, I can't really cry that much anymore. I like used to suppress my emotions. Oh my God, bro, this shit made me sob. It made me sob. I only avoided Japanese games that have 45 waifus on the cover art. That is valid. They're just being American. True. That's, yeah, Colonizer fucking 33. Yeah, true. Or the fucking British Empire.
This mindset is mostly tied to older gamers who grew up thinking the only acceptable anime was Dragon Ball. Today, anime is mainstream, so much so that
Hey, twin, that's some Gen X millennial shit, man. Don't put that fucking baggage on me, dude, okay? I'm basically, never mind. I was gonna say I'm basically Gen A, but that would imply that I'm like 13, so I shouldn't say that actually. So I'm Gen Z, dude, okay?
one of the highest grossing films of the year is literally an anime's finale. Second, the whole people only like it because it's Western argument falls apart instantly when you look at recent hits. Last year, Metaphor ReFantazio broke into the mainstream and became a Game of the Year nominee.
Dude, I gotta play
Before
Metaphor.
that, Persona 5, the poster child of so-called weeb games, became one of the most popular turn-based RPGs ever made.
And I still need to play Persona 5. I got like fucking, what, like 10 out? No, not even. Probably like 6-7 hours into Persona 5, and I was like, oh, fuck, dude. I just got distracted. I've arrived, but the ads got me. No. I'm in between Millennial and Gen Z. Yeah, I'm sorry, twin. Or actually, it's kind of I think it's kind of a nice place to be at. You were like full Millennial. You got some of the swag of Gen Z, 6'7", my fellow Gen Z. Tudis, are you free yet of the ads, my man?
And we're currently living in a gacha-dominated era where millions of players spend their days pulling for anime waifus or watching VTubers. The fact is, anime is no longer a niche.
Tudis, what's up, bro? How are you doing tonight, dude?
It's one of the largest entertainment forces.
Also, so sorry to keep pausing so much. Callie, how are you? What's new, goat? What's new with you, twin?
In the world. So claiming people only played Clair Obscur because it's Western and not anime is presumptuous at best and outright ignorant at worst. Now, none of this means the Clair Obscur fanbase is blameless. Whenever something becomes critically acclaimed, it inevitably attracts an intensely dedicated, often unbearably loud subset.
The loud, annoying 1 to 3% of the fandom. Chillin' got geeked, made some food, finally had the free time to stop in tonight. Oh, my fucking man. Dab me the fuck up, bro. Sounds like you're having a great time, bro.
Set of fans.
So I'm going to do after we get done with this stream, baby.
A perfect example of this is Undertale. After its rise to fame, vocal members of the community would harass people for not playing the game quote-unquote correctly, or for not playing the game at all. It got so bad that many refused to touch the game purely to avoid its community. And that's exactly what we're seeing with Expedition 33.
Yeah.
Worse, the backlash to those fanatics is just as loud. And the result is a pointless mudslinging contest where everyone gets messy, whether they're involved or not.
That's why I didn't like Taylor Swift for a while. I can't stand Undertale fans. Used to beef with Undertale fandom when I was younger. Yo. All right, I'm head to bed. I can feel the drowsiness coming on. Have a good night. Yo, Autumn, thank you so much for hanging, homie. I appreciate you a ton. You have an amazing rest of your night. Sleep well. Have a great day tomorrow. I don't like Taylor Swift because she makes shitty music. And that is why I don't like her now. I was like having to like, okay, maybe I need to be open to Taylor Swift. And then she released the, what is it? The Tortured Poet Society. And there's that song with the bars of like, take me to the gallows or leave me in the gallows or whatever the fuck. Maybe at some point I'll give T Swift a fair listen, but I just can't get into it, bro. I can't. I love Sabrina Carpenter, you know? So her fans just make me laugh. They are like Disney adults. Yeah, dude. Dude, yeah, talk about the loud 1% being very loud and annoying. I don't think I've ever seen a Taylor Swift fan account on Twitter or somebody with a Taylor Swift profile picture ever make a good fucking point. Taylor early to mid 2010s was all right, but now she's awful and she's horrible on the environment. That too. And Taylor Swift, I feel like, is the peak of like fence sit until there is like a slam dunk point, right? Her being like, abortion shouldn't be illegal, or, you know, all that shit. Like, yeah, that's like an overall likable fucking point. But like right now, you know, sorry to get political, but with everything going on with Israel and Palestine, she could literally, probably, I won't say definitely, but she could almost definitely cause a very big public, I don't know, a very well like public outward burst in the range of, or in the field of being like, yeah, hey, killing children in Palestine is bad. She could just say that. Hey, we should try and figure this out so children in Palestine stop dying. And I haven't heard anything. She could absolutely have a large footprint in helping free Palestine. Thank you, dude. Thank you. I feel like I've been fucking having lack of words tonight to describe how I'm feeling. That's actually beautifully said. That's exactly what I was going for. And also, if she just if she was like, yeah, here's an organization that is giving food to Palestinians. We're providing water to Palestine. Like, it would literally be world changing. But it's a little too controversial for her.
Claire Obscure is overhyped. Of the discourses surrounding Claire Obscure, this is the one that frustrates me the most. A game is quote-unquote overhyped when it fails to deliver on its promises, like No Man's Sky or Cyberpunk 2077 when they first launched. But in the case of Expedition 33, nearly everyone who actually plays the game agrees that it does live up to the praise. By definition,
bro,
that means it's not overhyped.
I just think you haven't got out of Act 1. And I'm not saying that as like somebody who's like, oh, you got to play a while, like with Persona, where people are like, you got to play a while to get the swing of things. No. I'm saying like, you will get the swing of things in Expedition 33, like gameplay wise, right? Early, and you'll probably get hooked in, because I did. But if you get through Chapter 1 of Expedition 33 and you aren't like, yeah, I can see why a lot of people love this game. Might not even be for me, but I can see why a lot of people love this game. If you don't get through there, I think you might not be like, I don't know, emotionally fully there. And I'm not saying that as like a fuck you type of thing. Like, that's like a I'm sorry about that type of thing. Because like, genuinely, the way that this game handles the writing of the characters and the dealing of, or the ways of dealing with loss and all of that. If you can't see why people like this game after completing the first chapter of Expedition 33, I think you're just disconnected in one way or another. And I'm sorry about that, bro. Or you're just completely blinded by anger of this game being quote unquote overhyped, or the hype that it's getting. Taylor, Katy Perry, there's so many of them who could help a lot, but choose to fence it out of fear of losing their millions of dollars. Yeah, dude, and I'm not even saying, like, I know it's not a good look for some of these people, not like in a Nick Fuentes way, like, oh, they have a fucking space laser or whatever, but like to go be like anti-Israel, right? You don't have to be fucking anti-Israel to say that children shouldn't die in Palestine. I have homies that are self-proclaimed Zionists that are like, no, this is wrong. Like, this is wrong, what is happening? Like, so you don't even have to go like full on, like, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, to be like, yeah, blowing up children is bad, you know? Like, lock it in. I'm sorry, so sidetracked, but yeah.
This narrative is part of a larger trend of people attacking the game simply because they dislike the community or because it's popular. Now, there's nothing wrong with valid criticism, but that's not what's happening. Instead of questioning genuine issues like a lack of quality of life features, people latch on to flimsy complaints such as the combat is boring because you can just parry everything. This sounds damning until you realize how unrealistic it is. Yes, you can parry everything, but that doesn't mean most players are going to have an easy time doing so.
Dude, that's another thing that just shows that motherfuckers don't actually fucking play this game before they say it's overhyped. Because if you pay attention to the game and the different creatures that, or the different, you know, enemies that you have, enemy types, the parrying systems, it's not the same parrying system throughout the whole game. You have to learn the, like, move sets of each individual fucking enemy. So if you're getting bored of parrying, well, then you must be able to do, like, no death runs in Elden Ring or some shit, dude. Like, fuck off. You're just not playing enough of the game. Exactly. You're not anti-Semitic for believing in human rights and the value of life. Exactly, bro. Exactly, dude. I think with most games, if you haven't given it at least a bit of playtime to pick up, you shouldn't have or form opinions. Exactly. Oh no, ad break. Fuck. Fuck. Rose wither emoji.
It's like saying Sekiro is easy because you have to parry everything. True in theory, incredibly difficult in practice.
Yeah, exactly.
And while there is an argument that the end game can be a little overboard with it, to act as though it's the only aspect of the gameplay is just wrong. Other criticisms include claims about the game's balancing, with it being too easy to become overpowered. And while that's fair, the idea
Sekiro sucks. Dude, I bought that shit when it was on sale one time. I tried to play it. Couldn't even get out of the intro. I'm so bad at that shit. Maybe if I play Elden Ring and finally kind of get okay at Souls-likes, then maybe I'll play that shit again and have an actual opinion. Worst FromSoft game? You think so? I've heard people glaze that game. Not as much as Bloodborne. Welcome back to this. Sorry about the ad, Twit.
that this problem is unique to Claire Obscure is absurd. Turn-based RPGs have always suffered from balancing issues. In Final Fantasy X, maxing out the sphere grid turns you into a literal god. In Persona or SMT, you'll usually end the game immune to everything while abusing charge, and in Trails, you can become effectively immortal through evasion or delay loops. And I could go on forever. Another complaint is that finishing all side content before the final battle leaves the ending underwhelming. Again, this is true, but it's also true for almost every RPG with optional content. None of these flaws.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. I played a lot of the side content before fighting the final boss, and I even played it on Baby Dookie mode, the easiest difficulty in Expedition 33, and I still felt like it was a pretty good challenge, especially if you consider like side content bosses as like final bosses, because they're like the hardest in the game. There are a decent amount of harder bosses that you have to get really good at to defeat. I didn't like Bloodborne, but I don't think it was bad. I just didn't like the setting. Yeah, dude, that was the thing. When I played Bloodborne originally, I mean, one, I was horrible at it because I didn't know what the fuck I was getting into when I was way younger. But it was just so dark and grimy. I know that's kind of the point of those worlds. But like in comparison to Elden Ring, you know? Or like the point of those games. Comparison to like Elden Ring, it's like, yeah, that's like dark and grimy and like, you know, lack of hope in a lot of ways. But it's like a whole different level. But I do want to play Bloodborne again at some point. Maybe if I get good at Souls-likes or even just bearable. I'll watch them. If it gets you that bag, yo, thank you. Hey, Tudis, that extra cent and a half in my pocket, you know? Bloodborne had you bored. Oh, dude. I'm actually surprised, dude. The only thing I've ever heard is fucking Bloodborne being one of the greatest games ever. You guys in chat tonight, not a fan. Valid though, dude. Valid.
Should be ignored. But pretending they're unique to Clair Obscur is simply dishonest. The fact is, if Expedition 33 were truly not the level of quality that people claim it to be, it wouldn't have maintained this level of praise or continued to receive such acclaim.
Yeah, I agree.
Look, despite the exhausting discourse, Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is a phenomenal game, and Sandfall Interactive deserves every ounce of praise they've received. I encourage everyone to ignore the noise and simply enjoy the experience for themselves. Don't let others, whether fans or critics, dictate how you feel.
Yes, and don't let me saying it's my favorite game of all time change the way you think about this game going into it, or anyone saying that.
At the end of the day,
yeah, but it's French, you know what? And that's the first valid criticism I've heard of this shit.
The only opinion that matters when it comes to your enjoyment is your own. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Hell yeah, dude. It's a good game, but just didn't really have me interested. That's fair, dude. Oh, I want to clarify a few things. One, when I say Persona 5 was revolutionary, keep in mind that doesn't mean it had to physically change the genre. What Persona 5 did was introduce a whole new generation to the genre, creating an incredibly dedicated fan base that would be willing to branch out and try other games in the genre. It also turned Atlus into a more dominant name, so much so that Square Enix is no longer the only mainstream RPG developer that people know. Oh, yeah, dude. I forgot about Atlus for like big game studios that are like doing well. I actually don't know how much or how many employees they have and shit. Can you react to the hit song Lolly Bomb? Well, Bloody, I apologize, but I'm actually about to head out of here shortly. All right, now that the reacts are done, time to get into Life is Strange 2. Oh yeah, dude. For my RPG examples, I mostly tried to stick to turn-based games, which is why I didn't mention games like Xenoblade. When it comes to cult classics, I want to make it clear that it isn't impossible for them to make waves, but it's usually the exception, not the rule. The nature of category means that these games went unnoticed, and for that reason, it usually requires a special circumstance for them to have a lasting impact. Prime example of this is Earthbound / Mother White. It is considered a cult classic. The circumstances of its history led to an intensely loyal fan base, many of which would go on to become game devs, which is why basically every indie RPG is heavily inspired by Earthbound. To be clear on the criticisms of the game, the main issue isn't that people are pointing to the specific things, but rather the fact they are trying to present the problem as issues unique to Clair Obscur, when in reality they are problems with the genre at large. All right, now looks fun, low-key. Feel like I'd be buns. It's definitely a learning curve for sure, but I'm usually good at a lot of games, but Expedition and Souls games, I'm ass at, LMAO. Well, you can also put it on baby level like I did, baby difficulty like I did, and I think there was like a couple of fights where I had a little bit of trouble, but it's nothing crazy. You definitely can get through the game. I think unless you're some auntie or elderly, okay, you know, sometimes, most of the time, both, you will be able to beat the game on the easiest level. Yeah, Chris Mom ain't raised no bitch. This is the first game where I wanted to be able to wipe memory and start again. I actually concur. Actually, I would say Cyberpunk's on the same level for me. Just hit 12 degrees, Unk. I'm cooked. It's Jover, my man. It's Jover. I don't like turn-based. Players are depriving themselves of one of the most beautiful games I've ever had the opportunity to play. There have been a ton of bangers this year, but only E33 legitimately made me cry multiple times. This is what I keep saying, bro, to chat. I keep saying, dude, trust me, just give it a chance, play it, and within an hour and 45, get it on Steam, and within an hour and 45, if you don't love it, refund it. But trust me, it's worth seeing it through even if you don't like turn-based games. This shit is amazing. Y'all gotta play the 32 Expedition games before, though, to understand the story. Honestly, I got to, dude. I gotta lock in on that bloody. Yo, Fern, what's up, homie? Sparking up and huddling over my stove. Wait, hold on. Before I finish reading this comment, let me look and see how cold or warm it is here. 17 fucking degrees. To this point, I was insanely excited for Reblivion, but I couldn't even get myself to start playing until I finished my entire playthrough on Expedition 33. People only like because it wasn't Japanese counterpoint. It had a much larger hurdle to clear. It was French! How long is this? All right, I'll read this one. I very much think Clair Obscur being devoid of anime aesthetic is a major contribution to its popularity, and I think it's too important to clarify that it's the lack of anime aesthetic and not the fact it wasn't Japanese. Anime may be mainstream, but it's still niche enough for a lot of people, especially streamers, to have negative association with anything in a smaller or similar aesthetic, or to write of games entirely and lump them into kids games as they do with anime, saying it's just kids cartoons, regardless of themes actually present in the media. Something like later Final Fantasy games embracing more realism, or Yakuza having more grounded aesthetics, will make those games seem fine to people, while those same people might see Persona, Trails, Ryza, anything with more anime aesthetic and just write those off. That lack of anime aesthetic has made it far more palatable to those against it, and I also do believe there might be a few weird Xenons out there who also played Clair Obscur just because it wasn't Japanese, but I think those are further between than those who simply wanted a turn-based game with grounded aesthetics. I think there's some truth to this, right? Because they're like, for me, I'm way more likely to probably play a game that has less of an anime art style, but if I hear that the game's incredible from so many people, I will still play it. And like I was saying, I want to play Metaphor, I want to play Persona 5. As somebody who doesn't really watch anime and doesn't particularly love the art style, if the game is incredible, it's not going to keep me from playing it. But I think there's a little bit of this, right? And I think they're right in some scenarios, but I think this game would be very, very close to as popular as it is, even if it had an anime art style. But I think saying this as to why this game is so popular, kind of concluding that point, is kind of a reach, right? Yeah, I don't think it would really contribute that much to why this game is as popular as it is. Yeah, I think it's a reach. Look up OSRS graphics. Wait, what does OSRS stand for? I got obsessed with Kingdom Hearts. Have you played Kingdom Hearts? I have not. I've heard great things, though. Okay, I'll read one more. Oh, wait, hold on. Let me read this one. I think Baldur's Gate 3 is more of a tactical RPG than a turn-based RPG. I wouldn't group them together on this specific discussion. I actually agree with that. I feel like it's very, very, very different in the play styles from what I remember. Because that reminds me more of the little bit of XCOM that I've played, where this Clair Obscur reminds me way more of like Persona and like even Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, even some, you know? I should play it. Kingdom Hearts is the one with like a bunch of Disney IP, right? Or am I tripping? Oh, old school RuneScape. Oh yeah, dude. Hold on. What is it called? Old school RuneScape? Old school RuneScape. Oh, what the no, that's not. Oh my god, misclick. Fucking misclick, bro. Yeah, dude. Yeah, I think I get that argument to a point, but I still don't think that's something for people to stand on like why the game is popular as it is. And it was fun as hell. My B button is in pain though. So much mashing. Azurus Wrath? Is that how I say that? French puke? Yeah. 80% chance of snow for the 5th day in a row. Oh, it's so Jover. There's one thing that Clair Obscur does exceptionally well, and that is exposing the lies told about Baldur's Gate 3 beyond the shadow of a doubt. When Baldur's Gate 3 was successful, companies and anti-fans came up with excuse after excuse why you couldn't compare Baldur's Gate 3 with anything and everything else, and how those comparisons were unfair, and how Baldur's Gate 3 had the deck stacked in its favor. One such argument was that it was only successful because the IP. Now we have Expedition 33 that is completely new world without a single pre-existing piece of game, book, TV, or anything. Just a single game by itself for now. And yet it is still widely successful, not because of the IP, but because it's simply a good game, just like Baldur's Gate 3. I find the whole you can be overpowered and doing all the side content makes the final boss trivial argument to be pretty stupid. As you said, it's a problem of the majority of RPGs if you consider it a problem in the first place. I don't think it's a problem. I think it's realistic. If you're doing all the fucking side content and you're grinding, then yes, your fucking character should be overpowered as fuck against the final boss. Like, if you're doing everything possible, you know? What the fuck? Though to many players, this is even a feature, and they like being able to become overpowered if they so choose. And that's exactly it, a choice. Games usually don't just make you overpowered automatically, but give you the tools to make yourself overpowered. Nobody is forcing you to use the strongest skill or the strongest weapon or use this combination of defense items that make you next to immune to damage. You pick those things out. And on top of that, Clair Obscur does address these issues. It was both a challenge. It has both a challenge mode and New Game Plus. If you feel like you are too overpowered, then go up to the highest difficulty. If that's still not enough, activate the challenge mode where you can power up enemies. And if you think the side content makes you too strong for the final boss, then do the final boss first and the side content in New Game Plus. I agree so much.